Having said that, let's jump into the Oz report for June 3rd, 2023. This right here is the items that are trending up this week. And immediately what you see here is, yes, we're seeing agency Pyrolensia dose 3s coming back up, right? They were down from the Capsuleer Day event. They're one of the highest traded agency drugs. We were all buying them last week here on the report on stream. And since then, they've recovered 22%. That's really no surprise. All of the agency drugs are now going to be recovering. It's kind of like the Praxis, the Gnosis, and Sunesis during Capsuleer Day. This is just what happened. So that's not a big surprise. We also in the top 10 still see some Vermilion mycoserocin, so gas clouds. There are some gas clouds that are still rising, even though for the most part, raw materials have drawn back from last week. What we saw last week was a lot of speculation on materials that might or might not be used in the new T2 dreads. Now we're seeing some of them go back because, as we always see in EVE Online, the speculation that you see in the beginning is a little bit too extreme, and it typically doesn't hold. So if we look at the market overall, we see that moon materials are down 8%. That's pretty big. We see that gas clouds are down 6%. So moon materials and gas clouds from the speculation spike that we saw last week down into more normal regions again. The big thing is happening down here with the Plex and skill extractors, and we covered this at length on the stream. So if you're listening to the Oz report and you want to have the more in-depth detail, go check YouTube or Twitch for the stream discussion. But in a nutshell, we have a massive skill extractor sale, a 2-for-1 sale in the NES store that requires people to buy Plex for it, and so Plex is up 17% almost. That is insane for the highest traded item in the game. So that is why I have been telling you, if you go back to my streams, I have been telling you to hold Plex for exactly these Plexageddon sales, as we call them. People need Plex to take advantage of the sale, so they have to buy Plex. So the price for Plex is immediately pushed up, all right? Especially because you can buy these skill extractors at 2-to-1 now, and so that's why the price of skill extractors dropped down 35%. Now that means right now, later, since we are later in the sale, it's been 36 hours now. We're seeing this as at an equilibrium at the new Plex price and the new skill extractor price. We see a more an equilibrium in the exchange rate between Plex and skill extractor. So now the market has normalized. However, what you can do now is you can buy skill extractors. I mean, skill extractors are now just way underpriced, right? They're way underpriced at 320 million or so. They might not recover back to 500 million anytime soon because these sales are just becoming too frequent and too massive. But you can bet on these recovering to 400 million or maybe 450 million, right? So this is right now, if you have deep pockets, if you have ISK lying around, this is the way to go. If you had Plex lying around, a lot of people converted Plex to skill extractor over the last 24 to 36 hours because that has been a very profitable thing to do. All right. Now let's go back here. Let's look at what's trending down, and this is where we see some of the other side of the speculation. So you can already see Fullerite C70 down 27% again. Of course, we're seeing the skill extractors that I just talked about. The Marshall was up last week, down this week. This is just a normal market fluctuations. That's just that's just what happens. It's fleet compositions. It's last time we speculated that the Marshall might be might have hypernet implications, etc. But that's just your normal stuff. You also see the Malachite mycoserocin down 25%. So the speculation bubble burst from last week a little bit on some items. So what happens is people speculate on the new items for the T2 dreads, and then people holding stockpiles in these items, they throw everything on the market and they try to cash in on the spike. because you also cannot underestimate the amount of people that are completely oblivious to what is coming. A lot of people don't listen to Eve talk shows. They don't read CCP news items, etc., etc. So there might be a lot of people out there that are just producing, that are just mining, they're just going about their way without knowing why prices are spiking or dropping. And so this is just the normal market doing market things. If we're looking at the highest trade volume versus yearly average, we're still seeing the agency drugs all over the place. Pyrolensia, 1-2, Overclocker, Hardshell. These are all large billion ISK per day trade items. We covered that last week. They were dropping from the Capsuleer event. They're being traded a lot just because there's a lot going around. There's a lot of them being generated out of thin air. And they are very popular. Right now, the price is still fairly low. A lot of these you can still pick up way under market price, a typical market price. So, that's why they're there. The Drake Navy issue is still, trading at a very high volume. I don't know why I'm speculating. It's still because people were using it for the event possibly, or some alliance is using it as in a fleet. And then we have some T2 rigs. But this is a misnomer. But other than that, it's pretty pretty standard on the high trade volumes. If we're looking at items that are in short supply, right? Plex is no surprise here. This is not. This is exacerbated by the fact that we have a Plexageddon sale and everybody needs Plex right now. But it's always at a very short supply because the velocity of Plex trading is so big that that it's just that doesn't have to be a lot of Plex in the market at any point in time. The 7 trillion Plex that get traded every day are high enough that not one person can completely buy out the market typically, and that's why the low availability is not alarming. We are seeing some items here completely gone. Imperial Navy General Insignia 2s, these are faction insignias, completely gone. That's very interesting. They're if you're holding these right now is the time to cash in. Right, you can make a lot of money, and this is one of my favorite trade items, so I'm especially excited about this. Cataclysmic gamma filaments are hot right now, and so they are also in very short supply. Typically, it means that any items in this list right here are items that you want to liquidate right now, because typically short supply goes hand in hand with a very high price. The Redeemer battleships, capital capacitor boosters, I'm guessing people are these are not being produced a lot, possibly because people are waiting for the new dreads to come out. Possibly somebody is buying them out in speculation. Lokis are also in very short supply, but that's also possibly because a lot of people were lately using it for the event. The largest drop in supply is something I added this week. So looking at the items that have had the biggest chunk of their sell orders removed, right? So you can see Federation Navy Tenement Afterburners, they basically went from full supply to no supply at all. Same with some the Dead Space modules like the Copum B-type medium armor repairer. The Redeemer was bought out. Typically this signals that items were bought out, right? And besides the one that we also saw up here, we're seeing some Republic Fleet EMP charges bought out. Not a lot of immediate opportunities here. It's just something that's interesting to look at to understand how the market's going. And then last but not least, we have the most underpriced versus 52-week average category, right? That sounds complicated. It's not really, right? I just look at the current price and how it compares to the yearly average. So what are the items that are just very cheap right now? And unsurprisingly here, we have the skill extractors, for everything we already mentioned today. Federation Navy Comets are very cheap, and Executor Navy issues, that's just, Navy issue ships. They're new, they came in at a high price, and now the prices are pulling back. So that's why that's also, no surprise. We see the Overclocker Dose 2 and Pyrolencia Dose 1 being underpriced. That just means you have to buy them now, right? That they dropped a lot. This list has a lot of investment potential. Skill Extractors, total buy right now. Overclocker Dose 2, you should buy them. Pyrolencia Dose 1, absolutely buy them. Even drone transceivers right now are they're dropping fast. But increased production through coming from the expansion could mean that a lot of these raw materials could see a boost over the next weeks and months, right? So I don't even think we need to look at anything in game today. Still trying out this new format. So if you're listening to this, you're watching it later on YouTube, or even if you're live now on Twitch, drop me feedback to this. I want to make this as usual. I want to make this as useful for you as possible. And so let me know how I can make this better in any way. All right. So thanks for tuning in. We're going to return to the regular stream and see you guys next week.